Okay, so give everybody a chance to get your bearings back and get back into your left brain, your left listening brain. Okay, good. So we're recording again, and this part of our call, our gifted call, is about exiting 3D and really about energetically vibing out of 3D and energetically aligning with and really anchoring into 5D. And understanding what we mean when we say exiting the matrix, and I'm going to talk about that now for a while, and then I'm going to do some Q&A. Okay, so thank you, by the way, for still being here. Everybody's still on the call. All right, so what we have going on planet Earth, if you don't already know, is the beginning of the next bifurcation of timelines, major timelines. And I'm not going to go into all of what that means because I just don't have time. But what it really means is a separation of vibrational frequencies, the polarization of extreme poles of vibration, of energy. So the extreme pole of fear versus the extreme pole of love, peace, and unity. These vibrations are being polarized, and they're starting to separate. And the third dimensional frequency is what I mean by an extreme polarized frequency of energy, of a range of frequencies which are based in fear, primarily based in fear. That frequency of a third dimensional reality is dropping off. And it's not happening overnight. It's not just something that happens overnight. We can see it happening because many of us are witnessing mass hysteria and fear, but we know we're not part of it directly. We're not carrying that vibration with us. We know when we come into experience of it because we start having these kinds of toxic experiences with another person or another situation that we may be in resistance to or reaction to, or if we're really, really well anchored into 5D, we just notice it. So I'm making a note to myself of something I need to say. Okay, so that really is what we're talking about, third dimension. Now, there are people on our planet, obviously, who are really well anchored into that. And they're working through those issues, and they still have time. They still have time to get out of that fear-based consciousness, which is why all of this stuff is coming up right now. But the idea is to shift into a fifth dimensional frequency. And then from there, you can go much higher, right? Fifth dimensional frequency is what we're talking about here when we talk about love and peace and this unity consciousness where we're, if you participate in the meditation, I'm hoping that you felt inner peace. I mean, I'm sensing everyone on the call when I'm there, and so I can feel when people's sadness is coming up. I can feel it. I can see it. I can see the group collective on our call, what they're processing through, even when, many of you are going through it, and I can feel it and sense it. But the point that I'm making here is when you're anchored into fifth dimensional frequency, you're holding this inner state of peace most of the time, peace and love. You're not getting whirled around in tsunamis or tidal waves or whirlpools or hurricanes of turmoil. And you really have an awareness of being very impervious to this stuff. Okay, so that's what we're talking about, right? Anchoring into fifth dimensional frequency. Now, it does not mean that your loved ones get left behind. It actually means because you have so much inner power, and I'm not talking about power in the old traditional sense of the word. I'm talking about inner power where you're so stable in your own inner core that you have the ability to help others who are in their fear to not have to be in fear. You're able to be the voice of peace, be the energy and the frequency and the vibration of higher consciousness and higher awareness, lighter frequencies. So there's no need to be in fear for your loved ones. You bring them with you. You bring them with you. You're anchored to them just as much as you're anchored into 5D when you do this inner work. I call it work, but it's play. For me, it's play. All right, I want to share. Do I want to say that? I wish I had done that on the earlier part about the hurricane, about the weather states. I'm asking if I want to. I just want to ask, do I want to share this right now? Okay, no, I'm going to save it for the class because it's not necessary for this part of the call. So the idea is what we're working on here is unplugging from all the programming. Now, let me say something. When I use the word unplugging, I'm using that word really, really deliberately, unplugging from 3D, because part of what I've realized in the last week is that, especially being right here in Florida, a lot of people are now aware that they're being manipulated by the media. They're aware that the media is lying to them, and they are aware that the media is giving them false information to greater and lesser degrees, and yet they're still allowing it. It's like they go into the store and they're still cleaning out all the grocery aisles, and the water's all gone, from the store aisles, and they say, yeah, we know it's all lies, but we're still doing it. Because on a certain level, it's like they know it intellectually, many people, but they haven't energetically cleared out these states of the energetic imprints, the energetic traumas and dramas that they're carrying. So they're still acting as if they've been programmed. So the idea of exiting the matrix and aligning in the fifth dimensional frequency, when we talk about exiting the matrix, we're saying that you're no longer operating from a reactive state. You're no longer operating from unconscious programming. You're so clear in your own mind, in your state of mind, and in your heart center. You're holding clarity within you to such a degree that you cannot be manipulated and you cannot be controlled, and you're not operating from a program of reactivity. That is a kind of overall agenda for this idea of anchoring into the fifth dimensional frequency and exiting the matrix. You're no longer operating in any kind of unconsciousness. Now, let me just say, overall, when I talk about exiting the matrix, for me, what I'm here to share through this course and all about anchoring in fifth dimensional frequency is that for me, I choose to be in my highest, clearest, purest expression of my divinity. I choose, for me, to be aligned with my highest, clearest, purest source of creation and infinite love to the best of my ability. And I choose to serve my God source, my divine source of infinite love to the highest potential that I'm able to. And I choose, for me, to live to the best of my ability my charmed life. In other words, the life that will bring me and the others I interact with the most happiness, fulfillment, peace, harmony, love, and joy that I can possibly experience in this lifetime. Now, I'm saying I choose that because I can only choose for myself. But my other choice in serving my God source, my highest source that I can serve, and fulfilling my highest and best potential means I'm going to do my best to serve and assist others in doing that for themselves, because I'm making an assumption here that the people in my community also are interested in that, in serving their highest expression, in aligning with their highest potential, in living their highest and best charmed life. And, in service to Source is service to others and service to self in the highest and best ways possible. It doesn't mean we put ourselves in the back and become martyrs. It means we're serving our Source, which is, what is it? How can I serve you, Divine Source, Creator God? What is it you need so that I can be of best service to you? And you understand that when you're doing that, you're serving humanity in the highest and best ways you can, or serving whoever or whatever is in front of you at any moment where you're able to contribute. And that is part of your charmed life, because there's so much joy and love and excitement in serving. I mean, it's just wonderful, right? So that is, to me, what this is about. That's what this Exiting the Matrix class is about that I'm going to be teaching, and that's the whole reason that we want to anchor into 5D, because that's what's possible for everybody. Living our charmed life, living a life that's fulfilling for us, and sharing those gifts, the gifts of the divine that resides within us. And it's so also important to understand that this fifth dimensional frequency, the fifth dimensional reality, and the dimensional realities beyond fifth dimension, which I'm going to explain more, so stay with me here. Those dimensional frequencies are in us. They're not something we have to reach out to outside of us. They're frequencies within us that we have to attune to, we have to align with, and then we anchor them into us. We anchor ourselves and our consciousness into them. But they're not something outside of us. Everyone has access to this, because these frequencies, these states of consciousness exist. They permeate in and through everyone and everything, including rocks, plants, minerals, animals, and Mother Earth, of course, including the wind and the air, including Hurricane Irma, including everyone and everything. So they're not outside of us. It's about learning how to access them from within us, and how to align with them, and how to anchor them. Anchor our bodies and our beings and our consciousness into them, just the same way, we would anchor into Mother Earth and ground into the earth. I mean, everyone on this call, I think, has learned about grounding, right? Obviously, that's super important. It's a similar concept. So, I hope this is making sense. I think that for me is really where I'm coming from with this class, is living the highest expression of my divinity and sharing that with everyone else, and helping other people to live in their highest expression of their divinity. So that's why I'm teaching this class, Exiting the Matrix, and that's really what this is about. Now, does that mean, to me, that also means that we are, in a sense, demanding the truth, the highest truth that we can access, the highest, clearest, purest truth that's available to us, knowing that there is, unlimited, unknown potential in the realms of all that exists, unlimited, and that every truth can always be overturned by a new truth. A new truth can come in that's a higher, clearer, purer truth, but we're demanding the truth, because we're in this state of living in 5D. In order, for me, living in 5D means that we're no longer willing to live in a state of denial, and we're no longer willing to live in a state of unconsciousness that is associated with the third dimensional frequency. So you wouldn't even be on this call right now, as far as I'm concerned, if you're willing to live in denial, or if you're willing to live in unconsciousness. People who want to live in denial or unconscious don't get attracted to my calls. In fact, when I've used those words around people in the past, I was recently at a conference in Saratoga Springs, in fact, and I used those words, and people got very aggressive that I used those words. They were very triggered. But to me, that's where we've all been living, because we were having an experience in the third dimension. We were having an experience that required us, in order to have that experience, to live in states of denial and unconsciousness. But in order to live in the fifth dimensional frequency, we have to choose higher truths. And we have to decide we don't want to be in a state of unconsciousness. We don't want to be in a state of denial. We want to instead live in states of truth and informed, conscious consent. We want to be in consent of our reality. So we're no longer willing to just assume like we're powerless over a hurricane. We're choosing to be in consent of, here's what I consent to. Here's what I agree with. And knowing that now that I have more consciousness, I know I can change my experience and I can actually affect the experience that others have too. That also means, for me personally, and again, why I'm wanting to teach this course and provide this Exiting the Matrix class, we're also choosing to live free of coercion, free of duress, free of deceit, free of fraud, free of lies, free of manipulation. Now, if you want to stay in 3D, those are things that exist in 3D. Coercion, duress, fraud, deceit, lies, and manipulation exist there. That's not where I want to live. So that's like exiting the matrix is about choosing to get out of that. Coercion, duress, fraud, deceit, lies, manipulation, denial. Because, if you're going to really return to consciousness and moral integrity, moral ethics, and inner integrity, that means we have to come out of those states. And in the fifth dimensional frequency, we don't carry lies within us. We don't carry oppression, deceit, repression. We clear that stuff out of our cellular programming. So we're not even doing it. We're not living in the state of unconsciousness anymore. We're living in states of consciousness that we're no longer in these states of being out of integrity. And we start realizing, because we're in a vibrational state where we're harmonious with vibrations of integrity, we're harmonious with vibrations of consciousness, we're harmonious with vibrations of morality and being ethical and genuine care. Those are the vibrational states that we experience and that we can share. So this is what I'm talking about when we're talking about anchoring into the fifth dimension, and what I'm talking about doing during this class. My choice is to be in love with life. I've not always lived that way, by the way. I've gone through a lot of pain and suffering to clear out my programs so that I could, align with the highest, clearest, purest source. In order to do that, there's a lot of clearing that needs to happen. But what I realize is, as I've cleared it, and I know many of you realize this because you guys are healers, you guys are astrologers, you guys are animal communicators, you guys are readers, you guys are intuitives, you guys are empaths, you guys are sensitive, highly sensitive beings. That's who's in my community. So we're clearing this out, but as we clear it, it gets easier and easier and more benevolent and more graceful and more gentle. And there's more and more of that being in love with life and living in a state of being in love with our lives and living a charmed life, our unique charmed life. And that is my new mantra these days, is like, I am in love with life. I would like to be in love with all of life. I would like to be in love with Irma and Harvey and Katrina, just in love with them, and to see the grace and the glory of them, rather than to be in fear of them and to be in reaction to them. I would like to be united with them in love so that I can facilitate more consciousness and love and peace. Okay, so to me, those are examples of what it means to be in this fifth dimensional reality. And it also means, being in the recognition that there's really no end to this journey of existence. So when we realize there's no end to this journey, we realize we are living in a state of eternity. It shifts everything when we shift into this new expanded consciousness of living in the state of eternity. So when we're in the state of eternity, any energetic vibration that's perhaps not as benevolent or not as enjoyable is just an aspect of the journey that we're just shifting out of so that we can have more of that charmed, joyous experience that we're all really all wanting, right? So we go with the shifts and the flows and the ebbs and the flows with more grace. Because it's not like they don't come into your experience in 5D. It's just more like they don't shift you to states of these dire states that we're witnessing. All right, now I want to first I just wanted to give you a quote from someone, and then I want to talk more about more of the specifics. One of the things that the channel Seth, if you're familiar with the channel Seth, said is, you create your reality according to your beliefs. Yours is the creative energy that makes your world. There are no limitations to the self except those you believe in. And it's true, right? We know that we're creators. We know that we're creating our outer reality. Our outer reality is a reflection of our inner reality. That's what we've been talking about on this call. So if we're going to places in our consciousness that say, I didn't create Hurricane Irma, or I didn't create this dark agenda that's weather control or geostorms or geoengineering, I didn't create what's going on Plum Island, I didn't create fake immunizations or forced vaccines or chemical warfare or whatever we start saying I wasn't responsible for, we're suddenly putting ourselves now into a state of duality and separation. We're shifting ourselves back into third dimension. The moment we start to look, where did I create this? How did I create it? What role did I play in this creation? We're shifting ourselves back up into higher frequencies, fifth dimensional living, where we recognize ourselves as the creators. Now, here's what I've come to learn. Everything we've created is stored up in our DNA. All DNA level patterns, everything exists in the DNA. And the patterns of humanity that humanity's experiencing on a collective level, they're surfacing with increasing intensity. And that's why we're seeing this radical planetary change. And that's why we're seeing these radical things happening. Not just in the weather, but in everything. And so as we start to recognize that the potential to make the change exists within our DNA, not just our DNA, within our consciousness, which is way more than just the DNA. It's way more than just our physical bodies. That's when we start to realize we can start unplugging from the programming. Now, I want to talk about this programming that's running us on an unconscious level. And I want to talk about the matrix a little bit, obviously, because people don't really even totally understand what the matrix is. So the matrix, I'll start with that, and then I'll go into the programming. When you talk about the matrix, what we're talking about is different people will define it differently based on their state of consciousness. You understand? Based on what their level of consciousness, not that one level is better, but there are higher, lighter, clearer states of consciousness, right? And then there are denser, heavier states of consciousness. So based on someone's state of consciousness, they may define the matrix differently. But from my perspective, the matrix is a kind of commonly held belief systems, programs, implants, alien implantation, inorganic, non-human programs and implants and frequencies and belief systems, points of view, perspectives. They're also, yes, implantation from alien implantation and negative alien agendas, which many people are completely unaware of. All of this stuff is embedded into our cellular memory, into our DNA, into our fields of consciousness, which is much more than, like we said, that's not just the brain. It's not just about what's in our brain or in our minds. So this matrix, it's not something, just like fifth dimension, it's not something that's outside of us. It exists within and around us. So the idea of exiting the matrix, it's not just something you do like where you suddenly unplug from the legal system. Most people, when they talk about exiting the matrix, they are talking about unplugging. They're talking about unplugging from this concept of being forced and coerced to do things by an illegal and corrupt government, whether you live in the United States or another country. Most countries are now run by illegal, corrupt corporations posing as governments that serve, which is false. But regardless of that, that's not what I'm talking about. Although that's not off limits, what I'm talking about is pulling all of these programs, these implants, these explants, these false belief systems, these ways of behaving, these patterns, this reactivity. I'm talking about pulling and clearing all of that stuff, everything that's blocking us from living our soul's highest and best potential, living and experiencing our true divine self, our true divinity, everything that's blocking us in any way, shape, or form from fully anchoring into this fifth dimensional frequency where we can go to the higher, lighter realms of states of consciousness. I'm talking about clearing everything that's standing in the way of us and our God-sovereign being. That's what I mean when I talk about exiting the matrix. When I talk about the matrix, I'm talking about all of this kind of programming. Now, I hope this is making sense. So let's talk about some of this kind of programming. What are we talking about? So there are some very commonly known kinds of programs. Commonly, people understand that we have belief systems that are not serving us. And we start to realize, oh, I've got a belief that's not absolutely true. That's kind of like the lowest state. I don't want to say lowest because I totally honor and respect that. But just belief systems alone is like one of the earliest steps, right? When you start realizing, oh, I have a belief that it's bad to be rich, or I have a belief that I shouldn't take money for my services, or I have a belief that I have to sacrifice myself for someone else, or I have a belief, and you start clearing those beliefs because you realize, oh, that's not really even true. And there's a better belief, and I'm going to clear that belief, and I'm going to take on a new belief. Okay, that's awesome. But to me, that's still one of the earliest steps of what we're talking about when we talk about clearing stuff that's standing in the way and exiting the matrix. So, for example, we have also programming, deception behavior programming. And this deception behavioral programming has to do with things like divide and conquer, competition and greed, alienation. We've all experienced alienation. High school kids go through major alienation programming where they're alienating one another. Divide and conquer, it's indoctrinated into us from very young ages, from infancy, actually. Competition and greed, those are programs of ways of behaving. Martyrdom, we talked about that a little bit, right? Everybody knows victim, victimizer. If you're on this call, you know victim, victimizer. Blame, blame is huge. It's like everybody wants to cast blame. Like, let's blame Hurricane Irene. Let's not even take responsibility for our inner emotions. The blame game, we blame others for our states and our experiences. When in reality, everybody is a reflection of us. Everybody and everything. We do the blame game with all kinds of disease. Like, it's not me who caused my cancer. It's someone else or something else. Or, oh, it's something I ate. Or it's the chemicals in the sky. Or whatever, right? That's the blame game. That's a victim-victimizer game. We also have, inside of us a wounded child. All of us have that. That's a way of behaving. So we act out unconsciously when our child's needs are not met. Wounded healer is another one. Us healers, we carry a lot of wounds within us that need to be cleared and healed and resolved. And I can go on. I mean, there's lots more of behavioral programming, not even just belief systems, programming. If anyone's working in a job that they don't like or working just for money, and I'm sure there are people on this call doing that, I fortunately do not do that. I don't have that. I only do work that I love. I literally only do work that I love. Well, I mean, there's sometimes I do things that I don't love doing, but it's for the work that I love. So that's prostitute. That has nothing to do with sex, by the way. And anyone who's, seeing Trump as a misogynist, example, misogyny, that's a kind of programming. Anywhere you're self-sabotaging yourself, that's a kind of programming. All right, I can go on because there's a lot more there, but let's go into some of the other kinds of things that we have to deal with besides just behavioral programming. When we start getting into ideologies, okay, so these are also kinds of ideologies that form under behavioral programming, but like narcissism is rampant on our planet. The need for fame and recognition that's coming from, by the way, Korea. Anyone who's following what's been going on in Korea, North Korea, that's wounded child stuff. I mean, it's like this, like wounded baby child. All right, but let me come back here. When we talk about ideologies, what kind of ideologies are we working through? Many of us are. We talked about narcissism. We mentioned that. Dependence on outside forces beyond the divine. So if you're playing, I'm using the word playing, but it doesn't mean I don't have great compassion for this game of 3D. But if you're playing with any kind of lack in terms of money or health care or resources of any kind, and you're depending on outside forces like a job or a boss or a 401k or healthcare systems, that's dependence on outside forces. Those will not sustain in the future. That's happening. Those patterns need to be restructured. If you're still buying into karma, belief systems of karma, belief systems of punishment and reward. I have one of my best friends, still a lot of times will go straight to this ideology of like he's somehow being punished. And I think you got to clear those punishment programs because that's false programming. Obviously, enslavement is a big one. There's lots of enslavement architecture embedded into our systems. So we act out of enslavement unconsciously. We don't even realize it. So we talked about lack and limitation. We talked about enslavement. We talked about divided competition. Okay, I could go on a lot more on that, but let's get into some of the deeper stuff that needs to be cleared. So obviously, we know there's, maybe not obviously, sorry if I say that word, maybe I should take that word back. This stuff is not so obvious, but we've got a lot of mind control going on planet Earth that people are being affected by. And a lot of people say things like, well, I watch the news, but it's not controlling me. And I think, how do you know it's not controlling you? How do you know you're not being mind controlled and mind manipulated? There is a frequency of vibration that comes through the news. Not just the news, the television. And that is deliberately, secretly, covertly doing mind control. It's using vibrations and frequencies of energy. So part of stepping out of the matrix, energetically unplugging from the matrix and energetically unplugging from the third dimensional frequency where mind control happens, means you have to consciously reclaim your mind, and you have to unplug from what's called mass human puppeteering, because humans are basically being used like puppets right now. Most humans in 3D. That's what goes on. And we've all been part of it. There's no one who hasn't been part of it. It's just, do you want to unplug from it? There are humans who are called sleepers. These humans have been so traumatized and so mind-controlled that they're basically creating and perpetuating all kinds of mass hysteria and trauma and contributing to terrorism and terrorist types of acts, behaviors. There are terrorism programs that are implanted into the consciousness of many humans. And those are done through computers and television and other kinds of mind control programming. Now, there's nothing to be afraid of here, because the whole point of exiting the matrix is that you get to clear this stuff out of you. You don't have to be affected by it. So there's nothing to be afraid of. I'm not spreading fear, I'm spreading solution. Right? There are all kinds of, by the way, while we're on this topic of fear, there are all kinds of fear and hate thought forms that are being projected and that humans are being infected with, and they don't really even know it. Like, for example, one of my best friends in England, she lives in England, texted me last night and said, "Are you safe? Are you okay?" And, we talked about this. And be safe and stock up. And I said, "You've been watching too much TV." And she goes, "No." She was texting me back, and she says, "No, it's not that I'm watching too much TV. I'm just concerned about you." So I text her back, and I said, "Where did you hear about the concern? Where did you get concerned? Who told you I should stock up? Who told you something was wrong? Who told you there was something I needed to be safe from? Where'd you get that?" Because it's sunshiny here. I'm sitting in the sunshine, and I'm swimming in my pool. So this is what I'm saying, is people don't even know that this mass fear really is affecting them, because she didn't even really understand that. Now, she's my friend from high school. She's not, a light worker. She's what I would call a third waver. But the point is still there. So, okay, I want to talk some more about these things that we're unaware of, because I certainly don't have time to go through them all here. But there's a huge part of what's implanted into our DNA and our unconsciousness is something called patriarchal domination. And you could also call it the hive mind. That's part of mind control. So we have to clear that from our energetic resonance, so we're no longer resonating with that stuff. There's also stuff called seed fears. The seed fears are really active right now, especially in Florida and in this lower hemisphere. Well, it's the northern hemisphere, but at the lower part of the northern hemisphere, Mexico, Texas, Florida. Just look. All those areas are just above the equator for the most part. So it's interesting that area is dealing with seed fears. What are seed fears? They're seeded fears that are embedded in the cellular memory. And they're linked in, as I said earlier, to Atlantean timelines, Lemurian timelines, and end-of-game scenarios. There's also lots of seed fears related to our galactic ancestry that have been completely wiped clean from us. Galactic wars and intergalactic wars that we don't know about. A lot of this is called alien, some of this is alien implants. People don't know about artificial, inorganic, alien implants that are in our bodies. Now, again, nothing to be afraid of, just about becoming conscious of them and pulling them. It's kind of like if your computer has some kind of virus on it, but it's still letting your computer run at half speed, and you sort of don't even really know it's there, but maybe you notice sometimes your computer's a little slow, but most of the time you just think that's normal, and then it gets pulled, and you're like, oh my God, this is so much better, and they didn't even realize, that kind of thing, right? By the way, a lot of people are having a lot of disaster dreams right now. Disaster dreams are connected to all of this stuff. So when you pull those things from your unconscious, the disaster dreams go away. The idea here is to make ourselves impervious to this stuff, right? There's a lot of psycho-spiritual warfare going on right now, where people don't know what to believe. Hence, that shows up in our outer reality as chemtrails and clouded judgment. And so the psycho-spiritual warfare, all of that stuff can be pulled and cleared. All right. I hope this is making sense. There's all kinds of other sorts of inorganic machinery and technology that's embedded in our states of consciousness, right? Embedded in our energetic fields, reptilian programming, from dark overlords, archontic deception programs, if you're familiar with that word. This is stuff we're going to go into in the Exiting the Matrix course. So I realize this is pretty advanced stuff, but I'm wanting to help people understand this is not stuff that I really know of that's out there very much at all, or if it is, you get little bits and pieces of it. My objective in helping people live what I call like this resurrected life, where we are all resurrected into our divine self, living our true divinity and aligned with our original divine blueprint, which the original divine blueprint for humans does not include death and dying, does not include, and I'm not saying that we should stop trying, like fight death. I'm just saying where we come into the state of balance, inner balance and peace, where death is no longer something to be feared, and we start working with it more as a choice. When, where, how, and perhaps eventually if. Because in truth, we start aligning with the eternity of who we truly are. This is the resurrected life I'm talking about, where we're living our true divine blueprint, instead of all these implants and these explants and these embedded energetic frequencies and programs, etc., that are not really aligned with our true original divine programming. And we come into the state of this unity consciousness where we're really all about being of service, to ourselves, to our source, and to one another. And this service is just the greatest joy that we can envision or imagine, that and so much more. And we start living by the universal laws, the unbendable, unbreakable universal laws of love that are all aligned with love. And our bodies and our beings, because we're clearing this stuff out, I mean, you want to talk about chakras, we're going way past chakras here. We're going way past meridians. Meridians and chakras will be covered. Energy centers, we'll cover that in this course, but what we're really talking about is clearing out our bodies so that we are holding a core pillar of light, that our core pillar is a light-encoded body, and that we live as in the luminous white light, this immaculate, pure light of love that we're meant to embody. So that's what this course is about, and that's what I mean when I'm talking about exiting the matrix. Now, obviously this goes so deep. This is so much. It's more than I can cover it all. But I want to tell you, I'm going to take some questions in a few minutes. But I want to just give you kind of an overview if you're interested in participating in the course. First of all, if you want to look at the course online and the description of the course, I know I said this earlier, but you can go to LoriSpagna.com. I think you guys know me, LoriSpagna. This is the way I spell Lori Spagna. And just you hover over the Live Events tab in the menu right at the top, and you'll see the link for Exiting the Matrix. That has a course description. And then, there's a shortcut, which I said earlier, which would be tinyurl.com//exit3D. I think you can get in that way. http://tinyurl.com/exit3D. So this class starts on September 19th, Tuesday, September 19th. And you can see it says 8 consecutive teleseminar webinars with 1 bonus week of live energy healing. I already laid out the course this week. It's not going to be that. It's going to be more. So it's going to be 9 consecutive teleseminars and at least 1 bonus live energy healing. That's because whenever I get downloads from Source, Consciousness, and my own inner guidance, I'll ask, okay, how much time am I going to need to teach this? And it's always more because they keep giving me more. It keeps giving me more expands. I'm focusing on it. More comes out. More is revealed. And, that's just the way it happens when you're searching the unknown realms for information. So you get even more than you thought you were going to get for those of you who are already registered. And every week is going to be clearing. So it's not just one energy healing. Every week will be meditations and clearing and healing. And it's every Tuesday. So we start on Tuesday, September 19th, and it starts at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. You don't have to be on the live call because every call is recorded. And even if you're listening in replay, you'll still be able to email in questions even if you can't be on live. So when you're in the class, you have access to live coaching and support with me. So you get your questions answered. And people who have taken my classes, you know I'm very thorough with answering questions because for me, I love this. I'm not sitting there like, oh, I'm just only going to work an hour and a half. It's not a job for me. This is what I love to do. I love sharing consciousness. I love expanding consciousness. My rising sign is a Sag. Sag is the philosopher. Sag is the luminary. Sag is the teacher. Sag is the student of the stars, the philosopher, teacher, student. So for me, I just love doing this. And I do my best to answer questions really thoroughly and to provide any, on-the-spot healing or awareness that I can provide. So anyway, if you're interested, what we're really doing is talking about not only clearing all these programs that allow us to exit 3D, but that allow us to really anchor into fifth dimensional frequencies and beyond so that we can up level, and then we hold the light and we hold this space of divine neutrality and expanded consciousness so that all of our loved ones benefit from our work. And by the way, when we clear this stuff, we're going into DNA. We get to do ancestral clearing. We're healing for our ancestors. We're healing for our bloodlines. We're healing for our lineages. They're reaping the benefits of our work. So this is the ultimate, as far as I'm concerned, of serving those you love in such a benevolent way, without any kind of coercion, without any kind of force, because you're doing it through your own inner sanctity within yourself. It's amazing how many others are benefit when we do this. So anyway, on that page, if you scroll down, you'll see there's a ton of extra benefits. I just want to go through the extra bonuses, and then, like I said, I'll take some questions, and there'll be some more content here. I want to cover some of the other things that are important about exiting the matrix and about aligning with fifth dimensional frequencies. And I want to talk about the dimensions too, a little bit more. But let me just tell you these extra bonuses. So obviously, if you're scrolling down, not obviously, but if you scroll down, you'll see when you join us, you'll also receive these extra bonuses to accelerate your exiting the matrix and realignment process, realigning with the fifth dimension. So item 1, that 101 theta downloads, that's actually a 7-week class. It's not even a class. I should change the word. It's 7 weeks. Each week is an hour, approximately 45 minutes to an hour, of energy healing. You just breathe and receive. It's light meditation with energy healing, 7 weeks of vibrational attunement to fifth dimensional frequencies. It's the clearing it's the belief system clearings and belief patterns that every human's carrying. It's your basic belief systems around worthiness, deservability, self-worth, self-value, self-honor, self-care, care for others, respect and honor, dignity, grace, peace, love. It's all those basic downloads. And because it's divine source, the energy is just as effective. So you can listen to it over and over, and it just goes deeper. You listen to it once, it's attuning you to fifth dimension. And these are things that are so basic functioning. To me, if you don't have these things, you're not functioning very well. Like people on this call, it's doubtful, very doubtful, that everybody has all of them. But you've certainly done some of them because you wouldn't be on this call at all. Like healers have to have this stuff. All right. The second item is 2 full classes. It's a 3-hour seminar on dimensions, gateways, portals, stargates, and timelines. And it really explains the bifurcation of time and the bifurcation of realities. Because This is it, folks. Going into the future, I mean, we've already done a lot of bifurcation that people don't even realize, because there was a separation of timelines already happened. I've talked about this a lot. Anyway, it's all in there. That is a really great, especially starter class, but even if you already understand this stuff and you really want to anchor it more fully into your consciousness, it's a 3-hour course. That's a bonus that you get. And by the way, when you register for this class, within 24 hours, you have access to all the bonus content. So once you get the bonus content, you can start working with this right away, even before September 19th. So item 3 is the separation of worlds and the splitting of timelines and dimensions. That's also a 3-hour seminar. So it's kind of like item 2 and item 3 go together. There's a meditation in both of them. And there's a lot of manifesting, by the way, to create your perfect charmed life, your ideal life that you want to live. Item 4 is the Intro to Dark Arts Training and Psychic Self-Defense course. It's a 2-hour class, and there's tons of content in there. It's a good foundational class for this class. I recommend people take the Intro to Dark Arts Training and Psychic Self-Defense course. It's a nice coupling class for Exiting the Matrix, the full course, but you don't need it for the Exiting the Matrix course. You definitely don't need it. You'll be able to keep up just fine. Anyway, you get that intro course. Okay. Item 5 is a follow-up call to Dark Arts Training that has a really lovely entity clearing and a healing and a clearing for all kind of psychic cords and attachments and other dark matter that drains and blocks us and keeps us sucked into and drained into the third dimension, because there's a lot of that stuff that's just people don't even know. We like to blame entities, but really they're just an aspect of our own shadow self. But we go into that in that class. And then item 6 is the 800-page ebook that goes with those other 2 classes. It's valued at an additional $25. Then item 7 is literally the protocol for clearing entities, energetic vampires, demonics, and other non-physical, non-benevolent beings. You want this if you've got any addictions or diseases in your life, or if you're a healer who wants to clear things like these. If you've got stuff like, split personality disorder, multiple personality disorder, seizures, addictions, brain problems, neurological problems, there's usually, almost always, in my experience, some kind of non-physical, non-benevolent being, or many of them involved. That's part of the healing. Anyway, you learn all about that with that download. Item 8 is Reclaiming Your Sovereignty and the Sovereignty of Those You Love class. It's a class. Look, if we're going to exit the matrix, one of the first things we really have to understand is how do we reclaim our sovereignty? How do we use the law of intent, consent, and authority, which is the law of free will, to take back our power so that we're no longer being manipulated? Once you start taking back your power, the rest starts to really unfold beautifully. So this is an important class, and you get that as a bonus, item 8. Item 9 is a really amazing, wonderful healing class. It's not even a class. It's a 30-minute meditation healing, clearing the stickiest stuff ever. You get to bring up whatever it is you want. You get healing on it. It's very intense, powerful healing that will just clear stuff, whatever is sticky for you, whatever's your issue. Then item 10 is a belief system buster. Also, a 45-minute live energy healing and clearing for clearing out old stuck beliefs. So anything that you're aware of that's been going on, like feeling like you don't matter, or whatever theme is in your life. You know, maybe you feel useless. Maybe you feel you've got issues of failure. Maybe you feel your, fear issues, whatever it might be, lack of success, or you can't find your soulmate, those kinds of things. This stuff really helps. I mean, it's amazing how much it clears. And then item 11, we're going to have a private Facebook group. So if you look at this, all of this stuff together, the total value of the extra bonuses plus the Exiting the Matrix course, the bonuses are $1,250, $1,250 plus in value. The total value of the Exiting the Matrix course is well over $1,100. The total value of this package, this whole course, is well over $2,350 easily in value. Plus, you're talking about at least 10 weeks of live content with me, and we're typically 2 hours a week. It's all recorded, and you own it. You will own this stuff. So right now, today, if you're ready and you want to participate, the fast action rate today is $9.95. You're saving over $100 off of the rate that's going to go up in 1 week. It's going to its regular rate of $1,100. So if you're wanting to participate, right now is the time. It's $9.95, and it is worth it. It will change your life. In my opinion, you will have an experience where you will look back as one of my recent clients, my current clients, who is registered for the class and who's been working with me for about a year now. And she just came on the Dolphin Journey, and she said, my life has changed. I'm not the same person I was a year ago, and I know it's in large part, it's from the work that she's done with me, without question. I hope I'm being fair when I say that. I think I am being modest. I hope that's okay. And then, obviously, you can do 2 payments there, if you're looking at it on the webpage. 2 payments of $500. The second payment will be 30 days after the first. And obviously, you will still have, not obviously, I don't know why I keep saying that word, but you will have access to all this back-end content. I call it back-end content, but it's the extra bonus stuff immediately as soon as you make, within 24 hours. We just need to activate your membership. So you get all that. If you would like to, there's a 3-payment option of $350. Billed 30 days apart. That third payment option will go away in the next week. So that's for fast action people who are ready to take action. All right, I'm going to go to questions and comments, anything you want to share. And I can see there's a lot of questions on the Q&A. I hope you will join me for this class. I think it's going to be amazing. Oh, you know what? Just right before I go to questions and comments, I just want to share one other thing, something else with you. It's more than one other. I want to just kind of share with you the agenda. I've been working on this class for a long time. And I want to say, by the way, you may have heard this from the last call I did, the intro call about this course, but I had a full course. In other words, people who took the Dark Arts training class and the self-love class, and the Exiting the Matrix class, the last 3 classes I taught, I had a whole full course. I don't even know how many people were registered way before I even introduced this class, Exiting the Matrix. In fact, some people registered from the Dark Arts training class a year ago. Now, I meant to offer this much sooner, this Exiting the Matrix class, but my website crashed, and there were just, took a long time to get it back up. And anyway, that's Saturn in my first house, destroyed old stuff that wasn't aligned with who I am anymore. But we rebuilt the website, and that took months. So this course has been delayed, and those people have been patiently waiting. And I'm so grateful to those of you. The reason I'm bringing this up is because people signed up for this course because they took other courses from me, and they loved it that much. And I'm just saying that to help you see they always end up getting more content because I always give more and more as the class builds. So, like right now, all of a sudden the class is now an extra course. Like we have an extra week of it because I realized when I put this agenda together, no way could I teach this in, that much time, that little time. Okay, but let me just say some of the things we're going to go over, and then I'm going to go to the questions. Obviously, intro to exit. There's that word obvious again. Intro to Exiting the Matrix. The concept of this brand new, groundbreaking, uncharted territory we're going in, how to navigate through the fear and the shadow aspects. This stuff is all easy, right? So that we don't get into any kind of fear or overwhelm, that we can just go through this with ease and grace and benevolence. How to deal with our own judgment and how to process through that. We're going to discuss what the matrix is and what the purpose of the matrix is. We're going to discuss what the grid is. By the way, everyone's also going to get an extra gift called What is the Grid? Because I did a class on grid lines. That's a full 90-minute class on grid lines that people who are registered for will understand what this is. And grid lines are so important right now if you want to really be anchoring into the new reality. You'll understand things like axiotonal lines, ley lines, and lightworker ley lines, the new lines of energy. You'll understand feminine energy and masculine energy. It's not what you think it is. Okay. You'll understand the patriarchy, the negative alien agenda, the archontic forces. You'll understand the divine feminine. You'll start learning about the Sophia code and the divine masculine, Christed crystalline, creator consciousness energy, those vibrations. You'll really understand about unplugging and disconnecting from the matrix and really being grounded into Gaia, Mother Earth, the new fifth dimensional Gaia, and how to accelerate from there if you want to check in with other dimensional realities, because this is where I was going to go with this. You know, beyond the fifth dimension, we have at least up to the 12th dimensional frequencies, states of consciousness, vibrations, states of being that we can connect into and align with. And they're beautiful. They're amazing. It's just fifth dimensional frequencies where we want to ground into, because that's a physical reality. We have physical body, and we keep our physical form. Okay. We're going to talk about the end of the quarantine, if this makes sense to you. Obviously, we're going to be talking about ascension and ascension upgrades and how we're shifting our bodies from Homo sapien to Homo luminous. We're going to get out of the perpetual cycle of reincarnation, which most people have no idea about, and we're going to be freed, liberated, cleared, and impervious to the war over consciousness, which is going on planet Earth. Most people have no idea there's a war over consciousness because it's a silent war that keeps people stuck in the matrix, right? And it's a war based on the biggest tool they're using is fear and coercion. All right, so that's just the first class. Tools of liberation we're going to go into, tools of non-attachment, sacred neutrality, and the 0 point. We're going to be talking about freeing ourselves from brain-based and expanding into heart-based beings, working with the divine and our I am presence. We're going to be really understanding all the different dimensions. I rarely have talked about the higher dimensions beyond the fifth dimensional reality, but we're going to go into that and how to use the creativity, the magic, the fun, the inner power, the imagination that's available to us at these higher frequencies, how to play with ascended masters and archangels and benevolent beings and divine goddesses who are literally living at these higher states of being. Yes, they're part of the matrix, but they live outside of the matrix as well once we align with them in a unity consciousness, and they are not superior to us, by the way. And obviously we'll go to 8th dimension through 12th dimension and beyond. So you're going to learn about these other dimensional states of beings and how to access them. There's going to be healing and meditation every day, every week. You're also going to learn more about your own morphogenetic field and your planes of existence. You're going to learn about the birth transduction sequence. Most people don't understand. How do you come from a spark of the divine, the God spark, through the 12D, the 12th dimensional grid system, and end up in physical form in the third dimension? And what is the density systems? Because the density is not the same thing. Density is not the same thing as dimension. So we're going to go over that because obviously you have to be pretty dense. Maybe not obviously. I don't know why I keep saying that word. Density is heaviness. Dimensions are not necessarily heavy. So we're going to go into that because you want to become a lighter being, right? So you have to understand density. We're going to talk about the chakra system because in fifth dimensional frequencies, you do not need the chakra system, nor do you want it. So you have to disentangle, and we are going to disentangle and unplug from our own chakra system so that our fully bodies can be enlightened, right? That's part of what we're doing. We're going to be clearing the meridians, going to be clearing the glandular systems, going to be clearing and reversing the entropy processes, which are very embedded. Entropy is that that form of it contributes to aging and illness and disease. We're going to be reversing that. We're going to be protecting the brain and the central nervous system. We're going to be understanding the role that all of our major master glands, the hypothalamus, the pineal, the pituitary, the thyroid, the thymus, the heart, the gonads, the adrenals, what they are all doing for us in a light worker, from the light body perspective, so that once we understand that, we embody that as a light being. Okay, obviously we're also, I don't know why I keep saying obvious, it's obvious to me, going into the DNA and understanding what this DNA, each strand of DNA, correlates to dimensional states of consciousness. When you're expanding your dimensional states of consciousness, your DNA is activating. You're going to learn all about this. What's in the DNA? What's in each of the 12 strands of DNA? What does it mean to be into and aligned with and awakened into up to your 12th dimensional strand and beyond, by the way? Okay, there's a lot more. The trap of linear time. We're going to go into this in the class. The trap of linear time, navigating time. Linear time and circular time, spiraling time, and clearing what we call time vector codes. Time vector codes anchor us, embed us into the past. That's part of why people are going through so much trauma, because they're still anchored into their past, and they're recreating their past. This also affects us in terms of aging and immortality, age-related issues, age-related diseases, including hormones, menopause, and hormonal issues. All of this stuff is programming. I know it doesn't sounds like kind of crazy, but it is. All right, we're going to talk about living in eternity and the eternal consciousness that we are, and how to step out of these time traps, the time traps that create and cause aging and illness and sickness and disease, and aligning with the fifth dimension and beyond, where we start living in an eternal state of being, and we start living from this state of consciousness and this energetic resonance where we're aligned with eternity, and where we have all new perspectives on death and dying. And it shifts us out of a fear state, a perpetual fear state of being. We're also going to get out of these polarized archetypical patterns that I mentioned before. There's going to be a little inner child work too, because we're going to work on really understanding that this inner child is just acting out to get some kind of attention, or to get some kind of unexpressed need, or some need that needs to be met. And learning about how to meet our needs so that we're not acting as children anymore. We're grown-ups in fifth dimensional states. And we're going to come into harmony with our own inner family. You know, we have an inner family, an inner child, an inner teenager, an inner parent, an inner sage, an inner authority. We're not going to be giving our authority to these outer authorities that have no authority over us. All right. A few more things here I'm just going to go through, and then I'll go to the questions, because I realize I'm almost at my time is up here practically. But we're going to go through those belief systems we talked about, and the seed fears, the implants and the explants, you know, all those hate forms that have to be cleared, all those seed fears, you know, the genetic memories that are not serving us anymore, the alien implants and explants that are simply interfering with our true, divine, glorious, beautiful, Christed state, our Sophia, goddess state of consciousness, our divine blueprint that was meant for humanity, that is our gift to ourselves that we are meant to come into. So we're clearing all these things. All the falsified projections, we'll go into all of that, and all that artificial intelligence software and all that crap that we've been discussing will get cleared. Sexual misery programs that create and perpetuate all kinds of pornography, addiction to pornography, and child sex trafficking, and all that stuff that's going on planet Earth. It's just ridiculous, not meant to go on anymore. Okay, and then obviously addiction webbing is some of it too. All right, I think I've given you a good sense of it. I don't know if I mentioned all this stuff. There's just so much more. That's why I need a 10-week class. But certainly, overall, matrix imprisonment programs are going to be cleared. and we're going to align with living this resurrected life, coming into unity consciousness, where we really are in a state of knowing that we can live our charmed lives in love and in joy and peace, and that all beings on planet Earth can have that, and that no one needs to fail just so someone else can win, that no one needs to suffer just so someone else can exceed or excel or live their best life, that it's available to all of us. Okay, so I hope you're going to join us. That is my sharing on this. I'm going to take questions, but just one more time, if you want to join us, now is the time. Exiting the Matrix. So you go to LoriSpagna.com and you scroll down over live events to Exiting the Matrix, and the purchase buttons are there. All right, so Christy is asking, I think we did this. Can we set an intention for Irma and to dissipate over the water, not Florida? That's exactly what we did. Thank you. Christy's asking, in your awesome package, item 11, access to our private Facebook community, is that the same as your sacred membership community? No, it's not. It's a separate community. It's a separate individual Facebook program, Facebook for just our group. In fact, it's not. That one's not even set up yet. That will be available once we're in a group. Actually, I'll probably get it done before then, but I haven't gotten it done yet. Okay, Chrissy's also asking, looks like number 11 is for Matrix program only, so not the same as Sacred Community. Okay, so it sounds like you answered your own question. How long does private Facebook Matrix group continue? For as long as everyone's involved in it. I won't take it down. In fact, our self-love group is still up there. Okay, Patty's asking about her dog with insecurity issues the past few weeks. Could that be a result of him sensing the new energies? And yes, it could be, but it's a frequency. It's vibrational compatibility with insecurity. So that 101 downloads is going to help with that. And, I mean, what we're talking about is clearing away vibrational harmony with insecurity, right? That's what we're talking about, because your animal companion is a reflection of you, right? Okay. Deb is saying, hi from Cape Town and sending love. Oh, my God. I hope I said your name right. Deb Salem? Deb Salem? Oh, that's such a beautiful name, too. Thank you. Hi from Cape Town. Lovely to connect with you. Appreciate that. Oh, by the way, I'll take some call questions, too. In fact, I see someone's hand is raised. I'll come over there. But if you're on the phone and you want to ask a question, *2 to raise your hand. You're definitely welcome to ask questions, especially, related to anything on the topic area. I'm not going to really do private readings or anything here, but, anything related to the matrix or energies or vibration or anything we've discussed today. And certainly anything related to the Course, if you have questions about that. Okay. Deborah's asking if there's a video on this webcast. There isn't on this particular webcast. Jasmine is asking, if Irma is here to raise consciousness, then how do us healers working on softening the effects of Irma and mass population learn to grow? Let me reread this question because I think I don't totally understand it. If Irma is here to raise consciousness, then how, by us healers working on softening the effects of Irma, mass population will learn to grow? Because one of the ways that Irma, she's asking, how does that, if we soften the effects, how is it going to help us, mass population, to learn to grow? Okay, let me tell you some of the gifts of Irma that I did not have a chance to say. But I'm going to do this more on, by the way, Exiting the Matrix is the Ascension, Manifestation, and Healing Circle. I'll have much more time to go into this. But let me tell you, one of the gifts that Irma's going to bring is the awareness of how we were literally influenced by the media for unnecessarily. That is going to become very obvious to us. So, if you're going to see. I think you're going to see. I guess that's a prediction. That people are going to be like, indulgence. What is indulgence? We indulge, we overindulge. And I think that's going to be one of the gifts that Irma is going to bring. But to answer your question more specifically, which is a great question, Jasmine, part of Irma's gift also is for us to learn our power to influence through peace. So when we're using the gifts of Irma to influence world peace, world harmony, world kindness, world compassion, Irma's gifts are being given. We're receiving her gifts, and we're using them. And then Irma has given her gifts, so she has the right to dissipate. So we're actually using the gifts of Irma by bringing peace to the storm, you see. Also, what's important to understand, third part of this, and I know there's more, but when we are using healers, softening the effects of Irma, when we're tapping into the consciousness of Irma and we're radiating peace out, we're radiating consciousness out as well. Consciousness, everything is consciousness. So peace is consciousness. So when we're radiating out to the planet, consciousness is expanding. It's just the consciousness of peace is expanding. So therefore, Irma's consciousness is expanding, even though her storm is dissipating. I hope that makes sense. This is the stuff we'll go into in much more detail, but it's a great question, Jasmine, and I thank you so much for asking it, because every time we're tapping into consciousness and we're expanding it, the collective is benefiting, whether they know it or not. Okay, and more of them are becoming conscious, so they're starting to know that they're becoming more conscious. All right, I hope that's helpful. Okay, Janet is asking, I've been waking up every night for a while now around 3 a.m., earlier as of late, and I'm unable to go back to sleep. Oh, wow. This is a good question. Let me just make a note that's coming in before I read the rest of the question. Okay. Because I already have the answer being downloaded to me. Around 3 a.m. So it's hard for her to get to sleep. She says fear sets in slowly until a full panic attack consumes her, and by morning I'm worn down. In desperation, is this maybe to do with this? Tell me I'm not going crazy. Well, first, Janet, I'm so sorry. Even when I got excited to answer your question, I hadn't read the rest of it. So I'm so really compassionately sorry that you're going through that. And yeah, I mean, this is part of it. Here's what I can say. First is, of course, in Exiting the Matrix, we will be discussing, this is something I didn't say, but there's a whole protocol that I will be giving to class members about protecting your sleep time and your sleep state. That is absolutely included in there because we're very vulnerable during our sleep time. And we did mention, I know I did mention about these dream states, even though that's not what you're basically saying. You're saying you're waking up and you're having panic attacks. But you understand that that's when you're most vulnerable in the evening hours, and there is something called psychotronic warfare being done, and your body is quite possibly processing fear during that time, or else you're energetically vibing, right? You're vibrating in harmony with the energetics of panic attack and terror and fear, which is part of the state of the third dimensional consciousness right now. The state of consciousness right now in 3D is a lot of fear and a lot of terror. So part of what we're going to be doing in Exiting the Matrix is clearing ourselves so we're impervious to it. We are not vibrationally in harmony with that so that it cannot affect us. We become impervious to it. You're not going crazy. That's the good news. And there is a solution, multiple solutions, and that is what this course, Exiting Matrix, part of what we're going to be doing. So I hope that helps you at least to understand and to realize, I can't make us impervious to it in the time we have left here. I've already taken 2 hours. However, I can assure you we will be addressing that in Exiting the Matrix. Okay, Bridget is asking, hi Bridget, was the recent eclipse responsible for a major cleaning? Ever since the eclipse, I've been so focused and calm. That's awesome, Bridget. I know your name. I know you've participated in a lot of my events, so I would like to, on some level, my ego wants to take some kind of credit on some level for that energetically. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Eclipse is helping us clear. I myself am finding a deep inner state of a lot more inner peace. It's just the more we anchor into these higher frequencies, we're holding so much inner peace and calm. And we're really, that's what the light is doing for us. So bravo, Bridget, bravo. Okay, I will come over to the phone line as I promised. *2 if you're on the phone line. There's someone and I see there's more questions on the Q&A. I'll take some more Q&A questions, but let's take the phone line person. This is Barbara. Hi, Barbara. You there?
Hi, Lori.
Hi.
Wow. I will say, I just have to share this, is that I daily now, it's kind of my own little private mystery school, with all the hosted calls, the beautiful hosted calls that are bringing on you and others that are so amazingly not ahead of us on the journey, but in a way to help us as light workers and guide us through, because that facilitation is just amazing. So today, really loudly, well, I saw it a couple of days ago, but really loudly, it said, get on this call. So I just want to say that I have not heard on anyone do such an incredible smorgasbord, array, broad perspective of this journey right now. This has been amazing.
Oh, wow.
So I want to thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
And I wanted to tell you, too, it was so funny. I've never heard someone say that they were a Sagittarius rising, because I am. I'm an Aquarius sun sign and a Pisces moon and a Sagittarius rising, so you can imagine the journey I'm on.
That is awesome.
Yes.
Aquarius.
Go ahead.
All right, so go on. I was going to go commenting there, but I realized I maybe should just let you finish what you're saying.
No, please do.
I don't want to go into too much personal stuff, but I get it. Aquarians are doing a lot of transmutation. Like, that's the job of Aquarians. They take, they're the master, they're the master alchemist. So they have to search for a very deep wounding to alchemize it and transmute it. That's the job of an Aquarian. And because they're up in the clouds, like they're an air sign, they're not really, it's hard work for them. They're doing hard work because they have to find a wound that they're not really resonating with so much, because it's an emotional wound. So they have to take that and transmute it, but they're master alchemists. So I'm assuming that's you. I don't know you personally, but I'm assuming that's true about you. So.
Well, I can say, and maybe it's in general, not just Aquarius, but I think, me as an Aquarian, but it's more what I sense is there is just a sense from the time I was born, basically, that this is not my home. When they say we're projected like beyond, well, that's where I have lived. It's almost like I remember more of where I came from than I even knew how the heck to deal with being here.
Yeah.
And that's the pain. That's the trauma. Yeah. Because you're also very, very sensitive. Yeah. And so you're looking around going, I came from love, and this is opposite. This is not that. Right. And it's just, painful. It breaks your heart. But, so thank you so much for all that you're offering. And I've been trying to get to your Bimini dolphins swim because the ocean is my home. The dolphins are my love. And so I'm going to plan on doing that.
I'm not going to be doing it again.
And I think, when looking over this today, I feel that I was drawn to this to reconnect with you. But also what I'm trusting my guidance for is right now I'm really feeling vibrationally for the sacred membership group, for the pace of it. And
stuff. You can definitely do the Sacred Membership Group. That's available too, and there's a discount on that right now, or savings of $100. For people who are interested in that, you can go to Sacred Membership. Let me just say a couple things, Barbara, and I'm so grateful for your contribution and for your sharing today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Laurie.
I want to say one thing for all of us starseeds, too, who feel that kind of, there's somewhere better and it's not here and I don't belong here. That's alienation programming. That's part of our programming. It's alien implants of alienation. And we're alienating ourselves because we do belong here. We're here by divine contract. We're here by divine decree. And this is our earth. This is our Gaia. This belongs to humans. And we are humans. We are embodied as humans. So us starseeds, we like to resonate with our starseed nature because we know we can be love in that starseed nature. And it's true. I'm with you. I'm so with you here. It's just that we also must clear that kind of programming that somehow we're alien and that we've alienated ourselves. And that's part of what we'll be doing in exiting the matrix as well, because we belong here. This is our earth. It does not belong to reptilians. It does not belong to draconians. It does not belong to even our ancestors. It belongs to us and our future generations. It belongs to those beings who are choosing, desiring, and intending to live in love and peace and harmony and unity consciousness. And we're taking back our earth. But we must clear away the parts of us that believe we belong somewhere else. And that's alien implantation. So I hope that's helpful. Also, I don't think you heard me, but I'm sorry I put you back on mute just because I knew I could go on talking with you forever, and I just wanted to share these things and then take the next question. Is the dolphin journey is done. I'm not going to be leading that again. I'm sorry. At least not for another few years, because my next journey is going to be a star seed gathering where we do crystals and earth grounding and light work or grid work. It hasn't even been announced, and it won't be announced until the new year, but that's the next journey voyage. And then I think I'm going to do something in Costa Rica, which has been on my agenda with animals for a while. So sorry about that. This was my last year for the dolphin journey. All right. I'm going to take the next caller, star 2, if you want to raise your hand. And I'll stay for a little while longer answering questions. This is Barry in Florida. Are you there? You're in Florida?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, it's actually Vincent. It's Vincent.
Hi, Vincent. Vincent, hi. So nice to see you.
How you doing?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Yes, I'm here. Awesome. So my question, and sorry if you went over this already, I missed like the first 40 minutes or so. With the timeline split and, the eclipse and everything that's going on and old energy clearing out and moving into 5D and all that good stuff, I'm sure I'm not the only one, but I've felt lately like I'm more on the 3D side than I have been in years, like emotionally with everything that's going on and stuff. And
yeah,
how do we know? Like, how can we differentiate into it that if it's just the old energy is moving out, or if I'm on the other side of the timeline, like which side of it I ended up on, and that sort of thing? Do you have any advice or techniques to kind of know where you're at and adjust?
Yeah. Well, first, this is an awesome question, and a lot of us, we do go through that, and it's vacillating, right? There have been times when I felt like that. I was like, how did I end up in this reality where everyone's going crazy? Like, what am I doing here? I should be in a different reality. But you know how you're going to know? You're going to know from your inner state of consciousness and what you're vibing with, because it's vibrational. Not just what you're vibing with, but what your state of consciousness is permitting you to be aware of. Because for someone who's totally embedded in 3D, they're listening to the news and they're believing the authorities. And they're believing that it's important to pack up, stock up, hunker down, exit, whatever it is they're buying into. Mm-hmm. They're believing in diseases and just death, and their fear is controlling them. I mean, I know you enough to know that's not the state of where you're at. But we're clearing stuff around us vibrationally, so you're going to vacillate sometimes. You just have to know your inner core. What is your inner core? Where does your inner, in the quiet space of your own inner, the kingdom within, so to speak, your own inner space, are you in peace? Are you in a state of love? Are you in an energetic vibration that if you close your eyes and you take a breath, does it feel good? Like I close my eyes right now, I feel awesome. And it's not a bliss euphoria state of unconsciousness, which is a program of its own. It's a state of energetic peace, energetic fulfillment. Am I there 24/7? No. Am I there most of the time? Yes. Am I able to hold that space? Yes. And that's really what we're talking about here. And if you're not sure if you're there, that's what the Exiting the Matrix course is about. It's really to help us anchor into it, because I don't think that any of us are really anchored in there. I don't think that we're there. I think that's the next state of consciousness we're meant to go to. And I think that that's why I've been called to teach this class and felt so inspired. It's not just a class. It's an energetic state of shifting that we're going to be doing. So anyway, I hope that's helpful, Vincent. Does that help you?
Yeah, absolutely. That is helpful. Thank you.
All right, awesome. All right, so I'm going to put you back on mute then. I hope you'll join us. All right, I'm going to go back over to the Q&A over here. Alice is asking, for those early people who jumped in last year, can the bonuses be reissued? You have the bonuses, Alice. Okay, if you have them, Alice, I know you do. If you aren't sure how to log in, I will have my wonderful, most amazing tech person. You have them. They have not been taken from you. I promise you. In fact, what we did with the new website is we made them available for you to log on. You will always have access to them, and they're there for you. So I didn't take any of that away. Okay? Everybody gets them, and of course, you guys, Alice is one of my people who registered from a year ago, so I love you so much, Alice, and I'm so glad you're joining us again. And thank you so much for your patience, too. And Jasmine saying, thank you for your answer, your beautiful soul, lots of love. Thank you, Jasmine. It's funny, too, because I just went over to the chat, and I didn't even see. Like, it's so awesome to see all your guys' comments on the chat. Just so many people making so many wonderful comments and beautiful prayers for Irma and for the Caribbean islands, and wonderful prayers for planet Earth. And I'm just reading through here, people saying how they're grateful for higher perspective and the sharing and lots of gratitude, and people asking for prayers on the West Coast with the fires. And I'm just reading through here. You guys head over to the chat box and share there. It's just, wow. If I had time, I'm going to read through them after the call's over, because it's definitely fun. And we will have the chat box open during the Exiting the Matrix class, too. Yeah, you can head over to the chat and take a look at that and participate in it. All right, I don't see any other questions of hands raised. I'll come one more time over to the Q&A and see if I don't see anything else in there. So this is your last chance. Comments, questions, feedback, anything you'd like to know. Exiting the Matrix course starts on Tuesday, September 19th at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. Every class will be recorded. You do not have to be there live. The 3 payment option will expire this week. The rate of $1,100 will go up at the end of this week. You have 1 week. Early bird registrants now, within 24 hours, you will have access to all of these extra bonuses. Plus, if you register right away, you're going to get those other extra bonuses on the timeline splits and the grids, but you'll have access to these bonuses within 24 hours. Everyone will also get the calls that have been the pre-calls. You'll get access to those as well. This pre-call is one of them. You'll have access to it. There'll be more extra bonuses to come, because that's my style. There's lots of handouts with the class and lots of downloads that you get in terms of physical handouts and class assignments that you can do on your own, not because you have to, but simply because you might want to do extra activities and meditations and healings and all that stuff. You'll have all of that recorded and downloads and the extra bonuses that aren't even mentioned, because that's what happens. So I hope you will join us for Exiting the Matrix. We begin on September 19th. I'll do one last quick check to see if any other final questions or comments are coming in. And other than that, I just want to thank you all. Thank you so much for participating. Thank you for being here. I love you guys, my family of light. I look forward to seeing you in class this week, or September 19th. And please feel free to email if you have any other questions. You can email them in as well. This recording will be available for a short time. If you missed anything and you want to listen again, you can listen to the recording simply by using the same link that you used to access the webinar today. And other than that, I just want to send you my love and my gratitude. Thank you so much. I love you guys. I bless you guys. I honor you. I thank you, and I see you next time. Okay. Bye-bye.